So this is my voice. It is not the voice of John Frusciante. It is not the voice of Flea. And it is not the voice of Chad Smith. And I want you to know, most sincerely, this is Anthony Kiedis and his on-tour voice.
This is Flea speaking. This is the sound of my voice. So when you hear this voice, you will know that it's me. It's just like if you listen to Peter and Wolf and you hear the clarinet go bum 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 bum, then you know that's the cat. So when you hear this voice, then you know that it's me.
Well, since you can't see me, I'll tell you that you're listening to the voice of Chad in Hollywood, California. I hope this gives a little insight to what was going on at the time, as well as I can remember.
This is the voice of John Frusciante. This is what John Frusciante's voice sounds like. Is that good? Does that sound like me?
When the Chili Peppers started, I had never considered, and I don't think Anthony had ever considered, at least not verbally, being a singer in a band or a rapper in a band. As you know, when he started, he just considered himself a rapper. But when we started, he was like, he had gone to see Grandmaster Flash in the Furious Five, and he was blown away. And he was like, "Man, these guys, it's so exciting!" And they tell these stories rhythmically over funk grooves. And we were so into funk, and I was like, "Let's do it!" And he sat down and wrote this song, and I came up with the bass line, and it was a song out in L.A. And bam, we had one song, and we played a show like 3 days later. And from the first second we played, it just exploded, And it was really quick for us to do that. And it was just all of our lives that kind of led us to that moment where it was a place that it was beyond thought. We didn't need to calculate or understand or plan or anything like that. We just let the thing take hold of us. I met him when I was 15, and we both just started the 10th grade at Fairfax High School in Hollywood. And from the very beginning, I found someone I could communicate with in a way and in a profound way that I hadn't had before.
I had been uprooted from one school district to another. So I went to Fairfax where nobody knew me, which was a good thing because I was kind of able to, I changed my name from Tony to Anthony, but I didn't have any friends save for this one very nerdy, diminutive, geeky character called Tony Scher, who was a loving soul, and we kind of bonded in the first month of 10th grade. And I was talking to him on the schoolyard, and Flea, who was then known as Mike, came strolling up and started being a little bit abrasive towards Tony Scher. And I was like, "Whoa, back off, buddy. This is my one and only friend. Don't think you're going to muscle him around." And it turns out they were actually friends, and he was just roughhousing.
The way I remember it, I had him in a headlock, and I was giving him a noogie. Where you noogie the head?
I feel like you came up on us and headlocked him.
Right. And you were like, he told me in no uncertain terms, lay off him. And you were, I was scared of him. He had a crew cut, like the crazy crew cut that nobody had in our 10th grade. I mean, every kid had a brush in his back pocket, hair, feathered back. He is this guy with a crew cut, lay off him. And I just like, okay, just joking around, we're friends here.
But there was kind of some sort of thing where we looked at each other, and even though there was an animosity, we're like, "Oh, see you later. See you around."
But that same day too, it was like the first day of school, right? I thought it was the first day of school. Because we had two classes together. We had PE together, and we had driver's ed together. And we had this alcoholic teacher named Mr. Houlihan, who drank booze behind his desk. Or at least that's what everyone thought.
Drank booze out of the milk carton.
Yeah, yeah.
God bless him.
And he came out the first day and he said, if any student, if you're caught writing on your desk, you know, you're expelled, failed, done with. But then Anthony got up to go to raise his hand. I have to go to the bathroom. As soon as he got up, went to the bathroom, I wrote on his desk, Anthony Kiedis was here. And he came back and found that and started writing, you know, on my desk. Anthony and I, we were like, our friendship is born of so many different things. Part of it was like survival. We needed each other, you know. We used to go out and steal food and do all this crazy shit. You know, we were like street kids, you know. We were hustling and got up to a lot of crazy stuff. And it was all born of that, you know, out of this like friendship that was not something that you can like put together in a rehearsal studio. But if we would have just got the groove of who we were on that first record, it could have been a really bold thing. We got it way better on the first demo tape.
Anthony and Flea, I met them at the New Music Seminar. And I had made a statement that I thought funk would probably go pop when some European group did it, like they did with Shake It Up Baby, Twist and Shout, you know, in the 60s, the way rock and roll had. I said some punk band probably would come from Europe and be a European band. So Anthony came to me, why do it have to be from European? Why do it have to be European? Why can't they be from the States? I said, well, if you think you got it, come on out to my farm and we'll get down. And my wife was gone at the time, so we had the house to ourselves. And we jammed, and my son had told me, he went to high school with him in LA. He told me how bad them and Fishbone was. They was traveled together pretty much. So I pretty much knew about them, you know, when they came. And we got in there, we got to jamming. I said, oh, they serious about this.
We went into the studio where it wasn't like this weird kind of intimidating thing, like how do we do this? We would just jam for hours and hours and hours every day, you know, like it's like we're playing our asses off. It was deep groove. It was completely natural and just like this force booming through us. And like, then all of a sudden people started asking us to play.
And we worked and did it. They went home, came back, stayed another 3 weeks for pre-production at a little small studio, and it was even better. Then we made reservations at United Sound where I do everybody else. Called Fred, Wesley, Macy on them in, and we did Freaky Styling. That was a fun record. We had a ball. We all almost went to jail, you know. They were young and wild, but they were just like us when we had been that young, so I understood. I got them apartment in Detroit, and we finished the record, and we've been working together ever since. You know, when they got their Grammy, they called us and we played with them. You might have seen that. That was a hell of a show. About 4 drummers, 5 guitar players, 4 bass players. It was fun.
We let the music move us and try to free ourselves completely, where it's not like us making this effort to move around. It's like it's us making an effort to surrender and let the music ragdoll us like a wave will ragdoll you. And I feel like in a lot of ways, like with contemporary bands, it's becoming sort of a lost art. I remember seeing the Circle Jerks and like walking in, and it was like, ugh, this feeling they're gonna explode out of their skin. It's like this mortal body is not gonna restrain me from letting every tornado of wildness through. For me personally, the Red Hot Chili Peppers has been my home for really even before the Red Hot Chili Peppers existed. I mean, when Anthony and I became friends when we were 15 and 10th grade, and we were just inseparable for years and years and years. was really kind of the birth of the spirit of this thing, and we met Hillel and Jack and started the band.
Yeah, well, we became kind of an inseparable threesome. Hillel was already pretty dedicated to guitar, and I realized that he was very different, had a very artistic soul and just a different way of looking at life. And he played music, he got out the records and, you know, played some music, and I was like, oh, this guy's pretty cool. And more or less introduced Flea to bass guitar.
Yeah, I never thought about it till Hillel said, why don't you start playing the bass and join our rock band?
You know, we had sort of come through some difficult times. I don't think any of us ever really thought that that would happen, even though you know, we were pretty messed up at that point. I went to Mexico instead to try to separate myself from life and the world and drugs and everything.
The thing that was hardest for me was the feeling of it being unresolved. Like, you know, you're at that age and you feel like you're just about to figure something out. Like, how do I relate to life, and what's my mission, and how do I get through this like strangling feeling that I've got in life? And I felt like Hillel was just starting to try to figure something out and was stopped. But in retrospect now, I just, you know, feel like his spirit really lives on within us. Within our band, as well as I feel at peace with, you know, it was time for him to go, and I feel, you know, his spirit is there.
I didn't go to the grave with the intention of necessarily resolving that closure, but just, you know, I have to take some kind of action, so I went there and sat down and had a little talk at the gravestone, and definitely found something bigger than I was looking for. And made that connection, you know, whatever that connection is, and was able to say goodbye. And I don't think there was ever any doubt in Hillel's mind or spirit how much we loved him. I mean, I would not be the person I am had I not gone through the weirdness and the experience of earlier years. But you know, for me, it was very sort of clear and beautifully obvious that. Sobriety allowed me to focus on things that I love, like friendships and family and music and nature and life. So it works for me.
I just like, for me now, every second that we're doing anything to do with this band, I'm so happy to be doing it and to be a part of it and to feel the connection that we have between us. You know, each one of us equally giving their hearts and creating this thing that I treasure every moment of.
We shot 2 videos in successive days. The first one being Knock Me Down, which was the first video. A good friend of ours on the Higher Ground video did all the green screen psychedelic stuff, was Bill Stovall, who was a really good friend of the band, who's now since passed away.
Who was a long-time hallucinogenic friend of ours, who is known as the Hallucinogenius. And all of this, this is like true psychedelic footage in the background. It was stuff that he did when he was a student at Cal Arts, and these were experimental films that he made. And we finally got to, you know, put them to good use by incorporating them into this video.
He drew all this stuff and made it like real by hand, you know. It was before, you know, things were all done with computers and stuff, and he like cut all the film and did all this stuff, and it's really great.
We grew up with Stevie Wonder, and although the groove on his song is played on a keyboard, it translated perfectly to bass. And I think it was just something Flea was into playing. So we made these videos, and we got to go crazy and be creative and figure out what it was really like to have a budget to make a video. And basically we called up all of our friends, and we're like, oh, okay, we need you to direct. We need you to come down and sing in the party scene and dance around in circles. And it was a family affair.
When we did this video, you know, it was a lot, like, I mean, as you see, I'm wearing a different outfit for every single shot. It was all, we were very much about the way we looked at this time. Like, it was very important to us to, like, to wear funny hats and funny pants.
Those pants, this girl made them for me. I saw this band, I can't remember the name of the band, but the girl was wearing pants all made of stuffed animals. And then I met the girl who made them, and I said, can you make me some? And she made me some. She was a girl, she made all the outfits for that band, Guar. It's funny to see John in this video because he's just so different now. You can't imagine like sticking his tongue out and being silly and running around anymore like he did then, you know. He's so like young and down with the program of being like a crazy chili pepper, you know.
We were young and inexperienced and really happy just to have the experience of doing this. Look at Chad, he looks like he's 12. It does bring back memories.
I can't say that I'm crazy, you know, about watching this. I don't like the person who I was back at this time, and I think I had all my priorities in the wrong places. And I think if I were to spend as much time playing guitar as I did picking out stupid shorts and stupid hats and stupid, you know, overcoats, I would have been able to write some good songs, you know. I can't watch this version of myself and be at all happy about it. I want to strangle myself when I see this video. I was 18 years old, 18-year-old that deserved to be slapped upside his head.
Yeah, this was the beginning of our time with John, you know. This era, and I was saying before, looking at Give It Away and Under the Bridge was the end of the era. This was the beginning of that era, you know.
We moved into this big old badass 1920s, 1930s mansion in Laurel Canyon, and it was empty and had lots of history, and it was beautiful, and we made a record in there, and we hired Gavin Bowden to come and just kind of capture our experience of being inside this house making a record.
Hello, I'm Gavin Bowden, and I'm the director of the Suck My Kiss video.
Gavin is Flea's brother-in-law, and we wanted to have, we thought it was such a cool situation to be making a record in this old Hollywood mansion. It was very storied with Houdini and Jimi Hendrix and the Beatles and all these people that had stayed there.
You know, there's ghosts in there and stuff, and it's a beautiful old house. Rick Rubin ended up buying it.
I'd been there for 9 weeks filming them every day as they recorded. And I think that Rick Rubin, I'm guessing, probably had some say in that they should have a video that used some of that footage, because that footage was what was so real about what the Chili Peppers were about. To see the way Chili Peppers interacted and the sort of the real passion that they put into making that album. It was a very addictive thing. And yet it was a very sort of quiet place. They kept everybody out. So, you know, I was very focused on my filmmaking and trying not to be in the way.
He was very able to be a fly on the wall, and he was very quiet, and it was just him with a camera with a mic on it.
We were hanging upside down for a photo session. Anthony and I were talking about that the other day. It was the last happy time for me up until the point where I quit the band, you know.
A really great experience living in there, and you know, it was the first time in my life where I'd let go of every responsibility except for playing music and smoking weed and hanging out, you know.
This was that sort of magic green air energy that you know, flies up your nostril just before the tornado hits. I forgot Rick was in this video. That's cool.
I like seeing the footage of us at the house. As far as this video goes, I'm not crazy about the parade part of it.
Well, the military parade was the welcome home troops after, you know, the glorious victory of the U.S. Army had annihilated the poorly equipped Iraqi regime. I don't really know exactly what it means. It just was, you know, it represented the utter opposite of what they were about. And yet Hollywood is something that embraces all, you know, and I guess that's how the two meet.
As much as it has very little to do with the song, I really like that footage.
The Suck My Kiss vocal, I remember very distinctly. The recording room that he had was upstairs in the mansion. Rick and Flea and John and Chad would be downstairs you know, down flights of stairs into what was a library which had been converted into a recording studio. And it really was an incredible sort of spirit and creative sort of universe that they had created inside of this Laurel Canyon mansion. I never saw a disagreement or anything. It was people all complimenting each other in a really amazing way. It was quite an incredible thing to watch, even if you're not even interested in music. It was quite an incredible thing to watch.
Obviously, when we wrote this song, we were on a roll, and we were feeling a true chemistry as a band, and you know, we were inside of each other's heads and hearts, and we felt really good about what we wrote.
And that was the first video for that record, which we're so proud of. That album and that song was really something really fresh that we felt really good about.
We decided on this fellow named Stéphane Sednaoui, the Frenchman, who had done a lot of work in fashion photography, and you know, like we were really impressed because he showed up wearing a dress when he first met us. I think it might have been a sarong, but for us it was really great. It was a dress. We're like, he's wearing a dress, he's cool.
Bonjour, je suis Stéphane Sednaoui, je suis le réalisateur de quelques-unes des vidéos des Red Hot Chili Peppers. The idea for the video was to have them in a very desolated landscape, very graphic. The point was to have no elements beside them in the video.
Like we sat down and he said, I want to paint you guys silver and we'll be in the desert. And we got that part and we're like, great, that sounds great.
It was funny, like, while we were making this video, obviously our eyes were seeing everything in color. You know, it's a good thing we were all right with being silly, because we really looked silly. When you see it on film and everything, it has this classic kind of a look to it, but when it was us just painting ourselves silver and wearing these big silver boots and stuff, I mean, it felt like glam rock or something.
It was like the aliens had landed, you know.
I had done a shoot where I painted people in silver, so I used that idea. And I had done another shoot where I was using a lot of wide angle and shots from below, and so I had all those kind of photos that I did as a reference to create my little universe.
He showed us this picture of this girl lying on a rock. And we looked at the picture of the rock and he said, see, this is this? And we're like, ah, yeah, okay. And he goes, not like this, not like this.
He storyboarded stuff like with the hands, you know, sticking in the frame, and then the rest was just created on the spot.
We did a close-up of Anthony singing, and then Anthony started to move his mouth, his tongue in his mouth, like so fast, like give it away, and he moved his tongue in the same time, and I'm like, wow, it's amazing. It's so close up, and the guy is giving me so much, and it's so fantastic. So I was like, what could I do to compete with that, to make it even better? That's how much energy he's giving me, so that's how much input. I have to find something to reach that level too. I decided to be behind the camera, so when he started again his close-up, you know, his performance, I started to zoom in, and that was my way to participate, you know, to be also a performer in that video, to be as physical as I could, because they were so physical, and I was also like very physical, so it was like we really found each other.
I remember we hadn't played live in a while because we had just been hanging out in the studio, and I'd just been smoking lots of cigarettes and lots of weed and getting high and not doing anything. And I remember when we were jumping around in this video, I was getting really tired and winded.
You're sweating the whole time, you're jumping around, you know, it's very physical.
I saw everybody else going fast, so my idea was to just go really slow, you know. I was stoned out of my mind for every second of it.
The way that it's cut just looks great when he puts 2 or 3 images together on the screen. It's really beautiful imagery, and the sun and the light reflecting in the silver. And
I was amazed by what they gave me, because they went far, far, far beyond what I was expecting. And I think that's one of my best experiences in that regard.
I remember I was happy that I had that spiral haircut. I stole the idea from Pete Weiss. My friend Pete Weiss, he actually plays the jaw harp on this song. That boing, 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 boing sound, he played that. He did it in one take.
We had shot that with Gus Van Zandt, who's a friend of ours. Very excellent director and photographer. Actually took the pictures for the cover of the record, but Sugar Sex Magik as well.
It was the thing that really made us break through into the mainstream of American, worldwide pop culture, Under the Bridge. And I had become friends with Gus Van Sant because I acted in a film called My Own Private Idaho with him. I just like him as a person. I really love him. I think he's a great guy and really has a unique, creative sense about him, and he's really true to who he is and never kisses ass and does what he wants.
Well, he was incredibly sensitive and understanding and in touch with the feeling of this song. And it was a new experience for us because we had never ever done something so mellow.
The way this song came about was that Anthony came into rehearsal one day, being coaxed by Rick to sing us this song that he didn't think was appropriate for the Chili Peppers that he had written in his car. I think the reason I chose to choose the chords that I chose at the beginning was because it starts out in a major key, was because when I originally heard it, my brain interpreted it as being this really sad song, so I thought if the lyrics are really sad like that, I should write some chords that are more happy.
The idea for his Under the Bridge video, I think it was originally based on a video that he had made for William Burroughs, where William Burroughs was speaking, I think they're sitting in a chair speaking, Gus superimposed all this other footage on top of him. That was one of the main things he wanted to do in Under the Bridge, was to superimpose other footage on top of us playing buildings and things.
I woke up that morning and my girlfriend at the time, Tony Oswald, she picked out this outfit for me. She just went in my closet and she might not have actually even officially been my girlfriend yet at that point, but she went in my closet and she picked out that shirt and those pants and those shoes and that hat, and that's what I wore to the video. And when I got there, Gus Van Sant was just looking at me and he was just going, "God, I'm so glad you wore that hat. I'm so glad you wore that shirt. Oh, those pants are so great. I'm so glad you wore those." He just kept complimenting my outfit, and it was the first time, in this video that I'd made that decision to just stand there and play the song rather than jumping around, but the music obviously seemed like it called for that.
Gus is great, because he knew that footage of John looked really great and he just left it and used it real plain.
A lot of people might not know about this video is that it was shot in two segments, because the first time we shot it was all in a studio, which is what you're seeing right now, and that didn't seem to capture everything we needed to capture, but it needed more. It needed this to be combined with an outdoor streets of Los Angeles. Flea actually contributed a major idea to this, which is when he suggested that we, for the sort of apocalyptic feeling ending, film me running down the middle of the Los Angeles River, which is just a giant slab of concrete and a little dirty stream running through it, in slow motion. And as kind of potentially corny as that sounded, we went for it, and it ended up looking really beautiful. I remember I was taking a piss at a party once, and it was like a multi-urinal stall bathroom, and this guy was pissing next to me, and he looks over at me and he sees me pissing, and he starts singing Under the Bridge, in some twisted key. And I thought, okay, we've definitely made it now. The drunken guy is singing out of key one of our songs next to me in the urinal.
I'm Kevin Kurzak, and I directed the Soul to Squeeze video for the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Soul to Squeeze was for the Conehead movie.
Dan Aykroyd actually paid us a personal visit to acquire the tune for his film, and we really liked it, and so they ended up giving us money to make it, and we got this guy Kevin Kerslake because of the work that he had done with Nirvana.
What they originally wanted to do was put, us in and cut it up with a bunch of Conehead stuff, which we absolutely said we wouldn't do.
Yeah, the first idea actually that I came up with was something entirely foreign to the film. It had to do with a car wreck and out in the middle of the desert. It was basically dealing with the afterlife, the Soul to Squeeze, touching loosely on the lyrics. And that didn't sit well with somebody for some reason. And then Anthony and I got together, and the first thing he said was, have you ever seen the movie Freaks? And just immediately it triggered something. I knew where he was going, and he had a great idea to set it within the culture of the traveling carnival.
It's a traveling circus of misfits and freaks and outcasts and people with special qualities, and it kind of serves the melancholy, lovely loneliness of this tune.
We shot it out near Valencia. It was just a desolate lot that had no buildings around it at all. We hired in a small circus, and the head of that was John Small, and he actually pulled in other people who weren't in the main body of the circus, and they came from all over the nation, from Florida, New York, and a pretty colorful cast of characters. And then of course we had Chris Farley, who was in the movie. He made an appearance as the head of the Geek Show.
He was so kind of humble and beautiful and fun to work with, as he was as a person.
It was just one unit, and it was super creative, it was super friendly, it felt like a family.
The dangerous thing about putting video images to music is I think you're dictating what a song means to somebody. And I know that there are these 4 or 5 minute, commercials for your song to play on television to sell your record, and there's something that I really don't like about that aspect of it, but it's a necessary evil in this business to be able to promote your music like that. But you're in the hands of, a director. We don't direct them ourselves. We don't write them. There's lots of things that are out of your hand. So we always try to be as involved as possible, but with your music, you write it, you sing it, you play all the instruments, you're there for all the mixing, you can package the records, everything that we do with our records, we have control over. With the videos, you really don't.
Everything about Conehead was really sort of an afterthought. As I went home, I just thought, well, Conehead's very aerodynamic, so why not shoot him out of a rocket, right? And as I remember, it actually took a little convincing to even have that reference in the video.
I remember there was a monkey, they were mean to that monkey. Anthony was really pissed off. Because the way they train it, they have this metal thing and they hit it on the head. And after that, we would never have animals in our videos because it was too weird.
The snake wig was Anthony's idea.
They made this kind of Medusa sculpture out of black rubber, and then they dumped a giant pile of real snakes on top of my head to kind of intermingle with the rubber ones.
We had a master model maker who created this elaborate headdress with thin snakes which were bent every which way, and then just turn the camera on and just let Anthony sing and let all the snakes crawl around him however which way they wanted to do.
It's sort of weird because it's a video that John is not in, and John is such a huge part of this song. I mean, John wrote the chord changes for this song.
Fortunately, we had the good sense not to try to put somebody in his position, but just kind of do it, without any guitar player type entity. So it was sad that he wasn't there. we wanted to do a modern interpretation of a Busby Berkeley deal, and this is it. The weird thing is, we wanted to go kind of hardcore with the tits and the ass, but not in an exploitive way, but just in kind of a beautiful way. Like, okay, it's time to show the extreme power and beauty of the female form and all of its energy within. But there was a woman working at Warner Brothers who was just so not into it. She's like, no, that's you can't use a woman like that. And I was like, come on, it's not out of lack of respect. It's out of love for sexual energy and all this stuff. And so in the end, she fought it, and we kind of ended up somewhere in the middle. It was supposed to be a lot more racy and kind of sexually challenging than it ended up being because of this dispute at Warner Brothers, which is kind of a drag.
I think this video has some really good parts of it that are grandiose and good. But I think we tried to do too much. There's a little bit too much stuff in it.
Well, it was about big production and obviously the water and the synchronized swimming and the gum-popping cholo girls.
The airplane thing was important to me, and I really liked airports. And in airports, all these sort of outer buildings are painted red and white check. So that was the set, then became red and white check, because that's basically what I had seen of airports. But Chad is tough. Chad's a tough guy. He came into the set and he takes one look at it. Fuck, it looks like a Purina dog commercial.
You know, it could have been really cool, and I don't think it quite got there.
I lived in East Hollywood at the time, a very mixed cultural place in the city. All of these cholas who would just hang out on the street, and I just thought these girls were just insane the way that they looked and made themselves up. So it was like, well, let's have the dancing girls, instead of them being these sort of very exact, sort of clean cut. We give them this crazy makeup and hair and glitter suits and whatever. All of this stuff is just designed, and all of the stuff is built. There's nothing rented in that video at all. It was shot on the oldest soundstage in Hollywood. It's shot actually where, in Universal, where they keep the Phantom of the Opera set. And to use the swimming pool, I think was $25,000, $27,000 fee. We couldn't afford to heat it. It was that expensive to heat it that the water is freezing cold. Those poor girls.
Yeah, these girls were from somewhere in the Inland Empire, the swimmers, and they were a professional team of water ballet girls. And then we have this beautiful look here of the girls. These are like cholas, this is like a hybrid of chola, these, Mexican gangster girls, but dressed up in the full Vegas showgirl golden bodysuits there.
The choreography was done by this really wonderful choreographer, Keith Young. And he made up all that stuff on the stage. There was no rehearsal, there's no 3 days of rehearsing. You've got to do more than just stand on the ground. I know you said you didn't want to do anything goofy, but would you please stand on the trapezes? This trapeze is like 25 feet above this freezing cold pool.
What happened is the strap broke. Luckily there was water down below. But yeah, I went falling whatever it was, 20 feet.
And sadly fell in the pool. Needless to say, I never worked with them again after that. The little kids who arrive at the end is the little kids from Flea's daughter, Clara's preschool. Claire is the little girl in the middle, and she's singing the loudest, and she's super proud that it's her dad's band.
The song, It's My Airplane, was originally, I used to have this compilation gospel record, and there was this great gospel song called Jesus Is My Aeroplane, and that inspired the song Aeroplane, because he sings Music Is My Aeroplane, and that was inspired by that song, which was a great, great song.
The song was doing kind of well, and so Warner Brothers wanted to have, something to play on MTV.
So we're out in Van Nuys, California, next to the Budweiser factory, and a recording studio that has a beautiful history, because Nevermind by Nirvana was recorded there. And it was a new experience. It was a challenging and rough but important time where we were making a record with Dave Navarro. And it's always hard the first time, just developing a relationship with someone when you're writing songs and recording music. Usually it takes a couple of records to get rolling, but we didn't have the luxury of that. So we dove in head first, and this is what we came up with. And you know, we also made another video for this song, which is probably not so good. With Anton Corbin, incredibly talented fellow, but we just chowdered on the making of a video. So that's why we're using this one on our compilation, because it's a little more real.
You learn sometimes from mistakes, and this is when we were like, okay, this treatment looks kind of weird, but we'll kind of go with it, you know, and hopefully maybe we're not seeing eye to eye in his vision. Maybe, you know, his vision is going to be really great, and we just haven't quite grasped it. But I remember seeing the first cut, and we were just like, oh my God.
The video that they made for My Friends was a very somber, lonely video of guys drifting around in a boat. I suppose the thought was that this wasn't helping make the band seem accessible as a rock band. People are really into rock bands, and people like to see what bands do, and they want to see them record and play, and why go for this artsy thing every single time and start alienating fans? Be simple and give bands just the chance to show what they really are about, which is that they play music. They don't live in the world of fashion magazines and all of this. They actually record, and they sweat, and they have bad hair days like everybody else. I had been documenting One Hot Minute, the recording process.
We hired him to document One Hot Minute and to make a film of that. And it was a much more ambitious film. We shot a lot of other stuff, and for a variety of reasons didn't use it.
The only lighting that was allowed in the recording studio for them, not for me, but the only was candles. That's all they wanted, candles. The whole somber, introspective nature of some of those songs. And I would buy hundreds and hundreds of candles, and I'd fill this place up. And that's why if you see in the footage, you see these kind of mountains of candles periodically. It was the only way that I could get light onto the faces. But the problem was, there was no footage of Anthony's vocal for My Friends. Chili Peppers were on tour at the time. They were in New York. And so I went to New York, and we rented a studio, and we shot a sort of really small crew, tried to duplicate a little bit of what the atmosphere was about, but also try to make it seem a little bit like a music video. In retrospect, I wouldn't have shot it that way again.
Looking at this Gavin, My Friends, it's much better than I remember it, and I'd like to thank Gavin publicly on this disc for being of service. Thank you, Gavin.
I think it's a good video, you know, it's reflective of that time, and I had fun recording doing that stuff. You know, I gotta pee.
Yeah, go ahead.